Welcome to the Saturday Morning Block Party Podcast. I'm your host, Norbert, and we have a special guest today. Today I'm interviewing professional animator Andrew Kaiko. We're going to ask him questions about his work, about his opinions of the industry, and we're going to have a little bit of fun at the end. So stay tuned and enjoy.
Okay, well, my name is Andrew Kaiko. Since graduating college in 2006, I worked at Animation Collective on such Nicktoons as Kappa Mikey, Speed Racer: The Next Generation, and the Kappa Mikey spin-off Dancing Sushi. After that, I went freelance for a little while and worked at various small companies. And on my free time, I created a bunch of comics, Norman Quarry, Jack Magic. All these comics are pretty much on hiatus right now. And then I went to more animation. I created my first short after college, Orbis Park. And after that, it was an animated version of Norman Quarry as a short. And right now, I'm working at an advertising agency in the city, in New York City, where I'm doing a bunch of animation, interactive animation, mainly for the web. I do some illustration work too. And right now, I'm in the middle of trying to start a web series, and the first episode is in production.
What was it like working in the Animation Collective, working on the Nicktoons shows?
Well, yeah. They all had varying degrees of enjoyment. Kappa Mikey was, I think, the most enjoyable I've had there. It was the first real cartoon TV show I worked on after college. I was on the anime group. Kappa Mikey's premise is anime inspired, and they meshed the two styles, Western animation and anime, together. And I was on the anime team because they had more characters like that. I worked on that for about 2 years, and it was very enjoyable because it was one of those wackier cartoons where everything runs on rule of funny, and it was a Nicktoon, so it was pretty wacky. I had a lot of fun doing that. Also got me into anime a bit. Let's see. Speed Racer was slightly less enjoyable just because we didn't do any actual animation on it, because that was outsourced at the time. So all we had to do was layout, the basic poses without any actual movement for the characters.
Okay, so what's your opinion on the, kind of Americanized anime style that those two shows used? Because they seem pretty similar.
What do you mean? What do you mean they seem similar? In what way?
Well, they're inspired by anime, and they have a similar kind of feel to it, as opposed to different shows inspired by anime, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Okay.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I went on the show in season 2, and I only had very little input on season 1 in terms of animation. Now, when I say anime inspired, we did it very loosely. Okay, I mean, we still did the thin lines. We still gave the anime characters much more detail than Mikey, who's Western animated, or supposed to look like a style from Western animation. But we did it very loosely. I mean, the animation was still incredibly limited. We did it in Adobe Flash, although then we actually used Macromedia Flash, which is the version before Adobe bought it, and so the animation was much simpler than what you usually see in actual anime. For the second season, it improved somewhat, but we were still under the same guidelines. So we improved it. We improved it where we could. It's mainly just Western animated cartoon. It's only inspired by anime, so it's not actually a real anime.
I really like Kappa Mikey. If I actually believed in guilty pleasures, then Kappa Mikey would be mine.
It is definitely guilty pleasure because, and I'm not going to pretend like it was the best thing in the world, because it's clearly not. There are a ton of things I can understand people hating it for. In fact, it's not that well remembered, but the entire show is available on iTunes and has been for years. But that's pretty much the only place you can watch it right now. Only three episodes were ever released on DVD in the United States. Australia got a full season DVD, but Australia gets everything apparently.
Mm.
So.
I actually own that 3-episode Kappa Mikey DVD, and
I do too.
It's terrible. It's full of ads and only 3 episodes.
Yeah.
I know we recently worked with that guy with the glasses. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, yes. That guy with the glasses, Channel Awesome, Nostalgia Critic. Well, before that, I've been a big fan of the Nostalgia Critic for like 4 or 5 years prior to that, whenever his review of the Never-Ending Story 3 came out, because the Never-Ending Story 3, out of the whole Never-Ending Story franchise, is the worst of it. I mean, I haven't seen the movie, but I love the review. So, it turns out that 2 years ago I started making a Nostalgia Critic animation, a fan animation. I took audio from one of his reviews and just animated to it for like 20 seconds or so. And of course I thought, well, he's basically just a cartoon in himself, and his reviews are all incredibly wacky. It's basically a cartoon, just in live action. So there were a ton of other opportunities I could take from his reviews that I could animate from. And I wound up doing 2 more animations. The first one was for that the ogre's butt moment in the Quest for Camelot review. And then it was the Troll in Central Park review, where I animated Stanley in sort of like a very fluid classic blue style that I could. It was still using Adobe Flash. And the latest one I made was the ending for his Mr. Magoo animation. And that was the first one I did with Toon Boom. I'm teaching myself Toon Boom. Mm. Yeah, and for all 3, Doug Walker, who plays the Nostalgia Critic, saw them on Facebook and linked it, which caused somewhat of a Colbert bump and upped the hits, as it were. And that last one, I think the timing was right because 2 days after I uploaded the Mr. Magoo animation, he emailed me out of the blue saying, "Hey, I have this Pinky and the Brain animation I'm thinking of doing. Would you like to do it? And I have Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche to record for it." And I go, this is a very hard decision. Whatever will I do? Yeah. So I postponed everything else I had to do that week, and it took me like 10 days, I think, because Doug releases a new video every 2 weeks. So this is not something I could slack on. And he wanted 2 characters interacting with each other, talking and acting for 45 minutes. I had to really budget my time because I also had to go on a trip that weekend.
You mean 45 seconds?
25 seconds.
Yeah.
No, 45. So I got 25 and 45 mixed up, and seconds and minutes mixed up. Where it was in my head. 45 seconds. I'll just say I did 25 seconds, maybe it sound better. But 45 seconds. So I got it done, and Doug was impressed, and then it went up, and that's how that came to be.
And for anyone listening who doesn't know, 45 seconds of animation is a lot of work.
Oh yes. Okay. For any prospective animators who are thinking of going into it as a career, 45 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but you will always overestimate how much you can do in that amount, in any amount of time because animation takes a long time. These days, I think more people are depending more on motion capture with CG, but I'm not quite familiar with the ins and outs of that. But I assume it too takes a long time. And I usually take my time in my own projects too. I mean, that Norman Core animation, that's like 3 minutes. It took like a year and a half to do. So as a tip for anyone, give yourself ample amount of time to animate a short length of a cartoon. And when you do, put more time into it because you're going to overestimate yourself.
Okay, so how was working with that guy with the glasses different from working with actual TV shows? TV shows, there's a lot of guidelines you got to follow. You have to sign a contract. There are stringent standards and practices and policies that you have to abide by. I still had a confidentiality agreement. Doug did not want me to divulge any information about what I was doing because it was at the end of the review and he wanted to keep it a secret. For it to be a happy surprise, happy secret for Nostalgia Critic fans. So they react, "Oh, Piggy the Brain are back! Look!" And I knew it would be much more enjoyable to them if no one knew about it until he uploaded the review himself. But going back to the difference, yeah, there's a ton. It's like night and day, really. There's more guidelines. Working for a TV show than for like a small commission like that is a lot more organized. And you're working with a lot more people, or at least you used to work in a room with a lot more people. I don't know how easy it is to keep a lot of animators in-house now. But, there's a big difference.
Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Brain, but how can you have a duck dynasty if none of the people are ducks?
God damn it, Pinky. Can't you get at least one thing right? No, cut the music.
Okay, so as entertainment on the internet becomes more popular and more of a viable option for careers, do you think it's going to start to look more like television in terms of behind the scenes?
I think it already is on its way to doing that, because now you see professional companies trying to get into trying to get revenue from the internet. Not just individual people, like young people, actual companies. Like Amazon is already starting their original shows, and they're advertising on TV. Netflix has original shows now, Hulu, etc., etc., and they're all competing with each other. I think this is the first year where Amazon and Netflix original series got award nominations at like the Emmys. It's mind-boggling. They're already starting to become like TV, and you could see it in the formats that they use to broadcast these shows. There are more and more commercials, more ads, more. They reprogram everything so that there are more and more ads that you can't skip over. It's starting to resemble more like television. I personally think that's kind of bad, because online used to be the most convenient and easiest and most successful way to get yourself known, to become famous. Because you barely have to leave your house. So now if any like individual people with little experience who have no connections to major networks try to become popular online, they're going to have a lot more competition and bigger competition. They're going to have to really up the ante for what they could do.
You've been doing professional work in the animation industry for over 10 years, right? That close?
I consider when I graduated college in 2006 as that point. So I'd say more about 8 years, because it's 2014. So
okay, well, in the last 8 years, how do you think the animation industry has changed?
Well, as I said, I got hired at an advertising agency, and that was that's where I'm working now, and I got hired in that in 2010. So really, I've only been working in the entertainment cartoon-related industry for about 4 years. And I'm basically going on my own in terms of cartoon-related stuff on my own time. So I'm not as familiar with how it's changed, but I do follow up on headlines online on occasion. And I think, well, number one, major networks are, as I said, major networks are kind of embracing the sort of a World Wide Web now. I don't quite know how that affected the process of it. I do know it affects budgets, because budgets for that are much smaller than the ones for TV.
How did you get involved with Toons these days?
Well, I was browsing online, and then I was going on YouTube, because I go on YouTube a lot, and I found this episode of Toons These Days by this guy Alex Dudley, and then after that I kept commenting on his videos on YouTube, and then he responded back, and then I found him on Facebook, and then we talked to each other on there too, and I guess I showed like immense appreciation for it, to the point where he said. Where he looked at my work and he said, you do really good work. Would you like to write for some of the Toons These Days episodes? Because I'm starting season 2, and I have absolutely no time to write all the scripts on my own. And he knows I guess he knew I was a good fit for the doggy character, because I pretty much act like a grumpy Cremigian sometimes, which I guess is a positive trait in that sense. But it's the review is just griping about the bad things, points about animated shows, and that just comes natural to me, because each script took me roughly like a half hour to write, something like that. And a good thing too, because he wanted each episode to be exceedingly short, like at least around 30 seconds each. Mm-hmm. So those didn't take a long while to write either, which means I could go straight to the point. And most of the shows that he wanted to review are stuff that I was familiar with already. So it was a lot of fun. And I even I auditioned to voice Doggy too. He eventually went with someone else, but the guy that he did get does a lot better than me.
So tell us about your Norman Quarry work.
All right, Norman Quarry started way back in 1998. as a short comic that I used to do, and Norm and Quarry were basically themselves, had their own personalities. For those of you still listening and don't know what I'm talking about, Norm is a talking chipmunk who is very educated, very proper, and loves human knowledge, and he carries books everywhere. Quarry is sort of his more developing student. He's a red tree squirrel, very naive, very agile, but wide-eyed and loves to learn about anything around him. But he's not always all there himself. He still makes a ton of mistakes. And they went on all of adventures in the forest in the comic. I made it into a webcomic in 2003 or 2002, and that's on hiatus. And then I brought them back as in an animated short, and that was added online last year, and it's now showing in a few festivals this year. And now I'm trying to bring them back in this web series that I'm developing right now. It's sort of this edutainment series because Norm he likes to educate Quarry, so I thought, well, he'd be a fitting host for a children's edutainment series online with 1-minute episodes. So I think that should be. I hope that's successful.
How did you get the idea for Orbis Park?
Orbis Park. Before that, I didn't create my own animated short since college. And it was like 4 years since I did anything like that. And I said, well, I have a lot of free time now that I'm off Animation Collective. I'll try to think of my next animated short that I could possibly, submit to festivals and try to find my voice and show people what kind of animation I can do and to show my voice. So I wanted to create a wholly original concept. And then one day I was walking around in Central Park in New York City, and I saw these pedicabs, which are this cross between a bicycle and a taxi cab. And I had my sketchbook with me, and I started sketching little shapes and contrasts and what I thought was amusing in my head. And I came up with the two main characters for Orbis Park. Orbis Park itself is a fictitious park, even though it is inspired by Central Park. And I wound up drawing the other guy as incredibly fat because I thought it would be a nice visual with this scrawny, athletic-looking woman trying to drive this fat passenger around, and her having struggles with it. After that, the script basically just wrote itself, and the storyboarding went very smoothly, and then it eventually got made.
I looked at the video, and you had animation assistants, and you had other people doing voices and I guess music. What was it like leading a team to do a short?
I was excited. That was my first time actually being a director. Although not the first time, it was the first time out of college being a director. I did direct other actors for my senior thesis. I did not meet any of the voice actors in the short in person. My brother and his fiancée did star in it, playing background characters in ambiance though, and I wound up contacting the voices for the two leads and one additional actor over voices.com, where I listened to the reel and auditioned them, and they just acted out the lines and gave me audio files through the internet. And that's how they got into the short, and that's how I also found the composer for it too.
Do you ever see yourself pitching either Orbis Park or Norman Quarry to a television network in the future?
I think there is a way both of those can be tweaked for pitches to television. I have my own ideas for it. I don't know if I have time to feasibly make a pitch though. Right now I want to focus on developing the web series if I can.
Do your eyes sense any other cab in this general area? Good, ma'am. You will help me get everything in this list before the others.
Okay. But only if you change that tone of yours.
There's been a lot of talk about the future of animation and independent animation lately. We've seen videos explaining why YouTube is really bad for independent animators. I'll link that in the description. And
yeah, I know what article you're talking about.
Yeah, I actually saw that because you reblogged it.
Okay.
And also, we've seen projects like Miss Officer and Mr. Truffle fail. So what do you think is the future for independent animators or or cartoons being done through the internet?
Well, that's not an easy question to answer. One suggestion that I can give independent animators is to keep doing sort of what local New York independent animator Bill Plimpton is doing. Bill Plimpton is very highly acclaimed, not just in the city but around the world. He's got several Academy Award nominations and even even won some. But the thing is, he built his acclaim for like years, decades even. So I would say do what he does: be business savvy, learn how to manage your expenses, get a group of people working for you, and in the process, try to stick with more traditional mediums. I know I should practice what I preach, but I'm not really an advocate for that kind of phrase because I don't even do that. I'm purely digital right now. But the thing is, sticking with traditional tools means that they're more reliable. They last a little longer. There's more tactile. There's more character to it. And if you ever want to give away something as a collectible or at an auction or to get money from it, you already have a drawing in hand and a physical object that you can give somebody as opposed to like a digital printout. So yeah, I would say stick with something that more traditional independent animators use. That's one option. Another option is you can stick with digital art, digital animation, and try to be famous with it online. And I think there will always be these new startup websites that offer you alternatives to older sites that are becoming too popular for their britches, such as YouTube. Because YouTube is so big right now to the point where only the best, most consistent, and most expensive companies actually make a fortune off YouTube. As well as Blip TV, which Channel Awesome is on. They got bought out by Disney, and they got their replacement site Maker TV online now in beta version, and I think that's going to replace the Blip TV site pretty soon. And pretty soon, it's becoming all the more competitive on those sites, which I do not like. It used to be that anyone could have an equal chance to see how well they could do. But I'm saying that there's always going to be new startup sites that could either succeed or not. I mean, right now, the site of choice is Patreon, which is like a monthly or like a donate by upload site where artists can use to earn money per month or per episode or piece of artwork that they upload, depending on who their donators are. So I'm thinking of opening a Patreon account even when my web series posts online and see how well it does.
What are your favorite projects to work on?
One of my favorite projects to work on?
Yeah.
In terms of like anything really, I like animating to music. I haven't had a chance to do that actually because, just because music is hard to come by. And I mean, most artists either you make their own music or have no music at all in their own independent projects because you have to get the rights to it if you don't create it yourself. But when I do, I mean, it's so much fun because, well, I'm a music fan anyway, to start off, but music has set timing to it, and the sound is all there for you usually. So you could just have fun with animation, and in the end result almost looks like it could be better or more fun than any other kind of animation, I think.
Okay, so we've gotten all the business type questions out of the way. So, what are your favorite cartoons that are currently airing or have ended recently? All
right, currently airing. I like. I'm getting more into the Awesomes, which is Hulu's first original animated cartoon. It's updating every Monday with a new episode right now. I think they have 5 episodes left. I used to follow Super Jail, which is between seasons. And both Super Jail and the Awesomes, I actually know animators who work on it in person. So I'm a little biased, but even if I didn't know anyone, it'd still be pretty enjoyable. Other than that, I watch a lot of Cartoon Network, like Adventure Time and a bit of Steven Universe. I think Wander Over Yonder. On Wander Over Yonder, I really like Wander Over Yonder, which is one of the few Disney animated cartoons I like, as well as Phineas and Ferb, which I don't watch as often right now, but I used to be all about that in 2011. I don't watch Nickelodeon that often now, just because most of their pretty much all their shows are not my tastes anymore. And I do watch Toonami on Saturdays when I can.
You know, those are a lot of good shows. A lot of great shows. Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you on a lot of those sentiments. I really don't like Nickelodeon as much as the other two stations because they seem like they don't want to do anything outside of the box. And when they have something like Quora, they just refuse to market it.
Now, Quora is clearly not what they're looking for anymore, which confuses me because, then why are they greenlighting another season? I don't know. But, yeah. I am looking forward to Over the Garden Wall, which is going to be Cartoon Network's first animated mini-series. It's going to be 6 episodes of, I don't know exactly, it's half-hour, 45-minute episodes. And it looks beautiful. So I'm actually looking forward to that.
And what were your favorite cartoons as a kid?
As a kid, I grew up with watching some of old. When I was a kid, there were three animation studios: were Disney, Hanna-Barbera, and Warner Brothers. And I used to watch their animated shorts and rerunning on TV all the time. Other than that, I was also into the Muppets and Sesame Street, which aren't really cartoons, but they are basically just cartoons. So yeah, that's what I grew up with.
Okay, and if you could go back in time and join the creative team for any cartoon ever, which would you choose?
Oh, wow. I would, yeah, guys, that's actually a very hard question. I know it doesn't sound like it. I'd probably try to join, the team of, Craig McCracken or Lauren Faust's shows. Mainly for Cartoon Network, because they both wound up to go on to do great things for other networks too. And Gendy from Desser's Laboratory as a third person, he's working for Sony right now directing movies, and he's in a deal for three movies right now. So I really like those shows.
No, I really like them too, and It's a shame that those people were essentially driven out. Well, not exactly driven out, but they chose to leave because of the new management that had taken over Cartoon Network a few years ago.
Yeah.
You've given a lot of advice to young animators, but do you have anything else you want to say to them?
Well, for any prospective animators listening, I can give you a few pieces of advice if you're just going out of school or in school or something, if you're really young and you're thinking about having aspirations about it. Except that you won't always be working. You could take up another hobby and nurture that. The industry is not big, and it is getting more and more competitive every day. People don't really require art to live, rather than, the world needing doctors or lawyers or scientists or whatever. So that puts more work on you about telling the world what you can do and showing them why you are important. It's all a gamble. Don't expect anything from companies. Don't because there are basically no rules in how to run an animated show or film. This industry is something like the least organized, stable, and inconsistent one I have ever seen. But it's all the more unpredictable and surprising and very exciting and very enjoyable that way. In terms of trying to set a career for yourself. Move to where the work is. There's a ton of outsourcing being done right now, which is unfortunate because I'm not a very big advocate of that, although I understand completely why people do it. And, meet people, stay connected to them, be kind to them, become their friends for as long as possible, and, try to help each other out because you're going to need them. They're going to be dry periods, and the more help you have, the happier you'll be.
Okay, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Yeah. Well, as I said, I have a web series coming up. I think I have the title solidified, but just in case, I won't reveal it now. It's going to star Norman Quarry again in some way, and it's going to be an entertainment series. So it's more aimed at the early middle school the early middle school students, and that should be coming up in the next several months. That's what I'm working on right now. Also, I do have a YouTube page, which is a YouTube channel, and I use my username Andrew K Full. That's Andrew with a K and then FUL. I wanted to do Andrew K, but some guy had it already, and I upload most of my videos there, except for my 2 major shorts, which are both on Vimeo, and you could look those up now.
And we're going to have links to all of those in the show notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for talking with me.
Yeah. Just as a side note, you could also follow me on the socials, on the Bookface and Twit page under my own name, Andrew Kaiko, Kaiko. So yeah.
And that was my conversation with Andrew Kaiko. I met Andrew a couple years ago because I followed him after seeing all of his Kappa Mikey fan art, which I don't even know if it counts as fan art since he did work on the show, but anyway, he had a Halloween live stream, and I think the only people who are active in the stream were him, myself, and Kappa Lizzy, who is probably the world's #1 Kappa Mikey fan. And she actually had a cameo appearance in one of the episodes with Lily Moo Live. And I want to give a shout out to Kappa Lizzy. I hope you're doing well. She does a lot of work with talking about her experiences as a brain tumor survivor. She does a lot of charity work, so I want everyone to go to her Facebook page, Kappa Lizzy, the brain tumor survivor, and like it and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We are the Saturday Morning Block Party Podcast. Like us on Facebook, Saturday Morning Block Party. Follow us on Tumblr at SaturdayMorningBlockParty.tumblr.com. Now for the sound clips we used in this episode, we started off with Big Car Theft from AudioNautix.com, and then we used clips from some of Andrew Kaiko's work. We used the Pinky in the Brain clip that he did for ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com with the original voice actors for Pinky in the Brain. And then we used a clip from his short film, Orbis Park, which we mentioned earlier. You'll find links to see all of those in the show notes. And right now we're listening to the Kappa Mikey theme song, Hey Hey Look Look by the Beat Crusaders. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.